Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned veteran, it's important you understand the limitations of the home inspection reports. I've personally seen how failing to understand what these inspection reports leave out have led to major structural issues hidden by blue tape problems. This brings us to the first problem with home inspection reports. The inspector is limited by sight. Inspectors only document visual flaws. If they can't see it, they cannot report it. This can lead to major problems simply because the inspector cannot reach the area or find the situation in your home because they are not either granted access or the house is full of boxes and furniture. This severely limits what the inspector can see and what the inspector can inspect on your home, and you're liable to end up with a bunch of disclaimers saying I could not reach southwest section of crawl space due to accessibility issues. This can lead to the inspector missing major issues like leaks, mold, or structural problems. So understanding how limited the inspection report is can lead you to the understanding that you want the house prepped for the inspector. You want to ensure access is granted. They can get to as many outlets as possible. They can access windows and doors. This will help your inspection report go 10 times smoother. I've gone to repair homes several times and found a leak in the bathroom or the subfloor that the inspector could not reach and could not document. So the homeowner ended up paying for all these repairs where they could have addressed the cellar and got these issues fixed beforehand simply if they allowed the inspector to access these areas. There are several tools they can use to alleviate this problem. Thermal imaging works well to help find water leaks under tubs or in floors or lacking insulation. Moisture meters help test for current and active leaks. But even with these tools, the home inspector has got to physically and visually reach the area to perform a proper inspection. A quick example of this, I was just inspecting a home in Branson, Missouri. I was the second inspector. There was already an inspector in the residence. My inspection was about over. I was getting ready to leave and I looked behind the furnace and I noticed a small wooden handle on the plywood wall behind the furnace area. I turned the handle and pulled on the plywood. It was a makeshift door, and behind this door was a small area of their crawl space, maybe 300 square foot. But the moral of this story is the crawl space was completely full of mold. I have never seen mold this severe. It was literally growing from the bottom of the joist to the ground. It looked like stalactites and stalagmites. Now, in defense of the previous inspector, this basement was cluttered. There was stuff all over the place. Furniture, old boxes, trash, racks and racks of clothes. So by the time I reached this residence, they were getting ready to move in and most of the material was gone from the basement. So I was able to see this door. Had the basement been full of clutter and trash, I might have never found this door and I would have never found the mold in this person's house. So this example goes to show why it is extremely important to make sure the house is ready for inspection and to understand that an inspector is limited by access and be able to lay eyes on the situation. Number two, it's important to understand the limitations of the home inspector. They're not going to move furniture, disassemble structures, take outlets apart. It's important to understand that inspectors are limited by liability. If they go to a home and the water's off and they want to turn the water on so they can completely test the system and they do this and the water leaks all over the house, they are held responsible. So that is why a home inspector is non-intrusive. They will not move your furniture and they are not going to disassemble things. These limitations also affect their report writing. They're limited by the suggestions they can make. If they make a repair suggestion and it's not followed through on or it doesn't pan out in the end, they can be held responsible. That's why home inspection reports sometimes are ended with replaced driveway, contact approved licensed contractor. This is all they'll get involved in because anything they say is going to be scrutinized and attacked by other contractors and inspectors, and they need to be very general or they can end up with liability cases. This used to get me all the time when I was a superintendent. I'm going to let you know, sometimes this triggered me to no end, is their phrases they use in their diagnosis. I would be going through an inspection report, and this inspector would suggest a qualified contractor. And you have to understand, these are just phrases they use for liability. They're not attacking you. They're not saying you're an unqualified contractor. It's just that's how they are told to answer these questions, and that's how they have to phrase their responses. So don't take it as a personal attack. Now stick around to this end of this video, because I'm going to try and remain neutral, but these last few tips can be directly applied to me as a home inspector. The third problem I find with home inspection reports are major flaws hidden by blue tape issues. Not all flaws are created equal. So if your report isn't itemized well, major structural flaws, leaks, and mold can be hidden by blue tape issues. And by blue tape issues, I mean paint, cosmetic issues that overall have no effect on the structure or stability of the house. They are just cosmetic. So it's important you find a home inspector that has a home inspection report that's easy to understand. A lot of these guys, you'll visit their webpage and they'll have a free example of a home inspection report. It's important you look at this, go over the report, and make sure you understand everything in it and how it's organized. They don't have things organized and prioritized for you. It's a very good case of they're not concerned with the major issues, and they're wanting to just flood this report with a bunch of cosmetic issues that's going to make them look thorough and like they did a good job on your home inspection. But a home inspection should check your structure and the lifetime of your home, not be concerned with scuffed paint. Now, how I dealt with this in my home inspection company is I found a very good host for my home inspection software in the form of Home Gauge. I like how the reports are laid out. It's categorized, it's color coded, safety issues. It's all presented in a way that's easy for me to give to my clients. It shows the major issues and problems first, color coded and organized, so it's very easy to follow and understand. That way paint problems are not overshadowing major structural issues. The fourth issue we have with home inspection reports is who makes the better inspector. Is the experienced builder who spent 25 years in the trade a better inspector? Or is the brand new inspector who's never been on a job site and has just gone to school the better inspector? This is a huge debate and an argument in the home inspection industry that's been going on for years. And I'm one aspect of that. I built homes for 25 years before I made the transition into home inspection. And the value that gives you as an inspector with construction experience can oftentimes offer solutions or ideas that the younger and unexperienced inspector does not understand or simply did not even know about. But all this experience and years on the job will do nothing for you if you did not learn correctly. If you're not building things right, you're leaving footers out, you're not framing your roof right, you're not going to be a good inspector because you didn't even know the basics when you were building homes. So how are you going to go in and judge other people's work when your work wasn't even up to par to begin with? If they're bragging about, oh, I've been on the job for 42 years, I know everything, this isn't true. I've spent years and years in construction and I learn every single day. And you also need to think about the fact that there are some very good schools out there. Internachi has an excellent hands-on school where they train home inspectors. There are schools all over the country that train home inspectors directly. And this could be a very big benefit because their mind is not clouded by anything they've learned previously. They are learning correctly from the start. So if you see a younger or older inspector, don't just assume you know their ability. Research them, look into what they do, how they act, and their reviews on the internet, and this will tell you more about their ability than what they're claiming on social media. And this applies to everything in life. It's very important you don't assume something about someone or judge someone based on their appearance or race. There's good and bad home inspectors, just like there's good and bad contractors. Do your proper research, take responsibility for the home you're buying, and look into your home inspector. Don't just hire anyone, and don't just hire someone because they claim to have experience. Now let's talk about how to find a home inspector. The majority of home inspectors are found off their realtor's recommendation. Realtors are heavily regulated on how they can recommend a home inspector. They usually give you 3 choices and you pick from the 3 choices the home inspector you want. Now, I'm not trying to cost myself any work here and I'm not trying to make any realtors mad. But it's important that you trust your realtor if you're going to go off the recommendation for their home inspector. Is this realtor trying to sell you a lifetime home and build a relationship that will last years and across many recommendations throughout your family? Or are they just trying to shove a house sale down your throat so they can get their commission and move on? Now, I have a reputation for being an extremely thorough but fair inspector. I try not to alarm homeowners. I try and give them solutions, not just problems. But I've had realtors come up and ask me, don't put this on the report, or could you leave this off? It's just a small issue or a small problem. And my answer is absolutely not. Everything goes on an inspection report, and it goes on there every single time. What I do when I go in and meet realtors, and this is how I get the unscrupulous ones out of the way immediately. I stand in front of these realtors, I introduce myself, and I tell them that if you have any interest in me not reporting issues or me not thoroughly inspecting a home, I am not the home inspector for you. And you know what? I've had realtors straight up put my information back on the front counter and not use me. Whether they think I'm arrogant or I'm going to be too strict on a home inspection does not matter to me. My job is to inspect the home for you and to make sure your home is right for you and your family. So these realtors that put my information back up on the desk, I am not interested in working for. But I'm interested in the realtor that looks at me and smiles because they are interested in protecting their client. They're interested in getting their client in a good house, and they want their client happy after they move into this house. So if you see a realtor that allies with a very thorough and educated home inspector, this would be a good sign that this is the realtor for you. So the best thing I can say about realtor recommended home inspectors is that if you trust your realtor, go off the recommendation. If you're not comfortable with your realtor and you're not exactly sure they are out for your best interest, find your own home inspector from outside sources. Now, contractors recommend home inspectors, and I'm going to tell you right now, this will never work out. It's never going to work out. Never go off who your contractor recommends to inspect your home. New construction in this country is in a very poor state. There is substandard building going on and no accountability, especially in Missouri. You do not have to have a license to be a home inspector. You do not have to have a license to be a residential builder. So you're at the mercy of this dude. I know specific companies that have changed their name to avoid lawsuits and accountability, and now they're building in Branson under a new name, with no responsibility towards the money they took from homeowners and gave them a substandard home. Never go off your contractor recommended home inspector. Get your own home inspector. Even if you had your home custom built, you will want to get a home inspector. There are countless examples proving this on the internet from my channel and several more successful and bigger channels. So it's very important you get your own home inspector when you're dealing with a contractor. Jump down in the comments if you have any surprises on your home inspection report, or you learned anything that you did not understand after you got your first home inspection report. This will help new home buyers and veteran home buyers alike.